Hey everybody, this is Sir Dux Lancelot. I'm a Civ YouTuber. You can find my channel in the description. So a link for the season playlist will appear in the top right and in the description with all the episodes so far. Today we're going to be covering the best wonders, how to rush wonders, which ones to get and why. Hopefully we'll give you a refreshed outlook on wonders today.
This first season is a discussion on all mechanics and key decisions throughout the game, suitable for players on any difficulty/skill. Episodes come out every Tuesday, so subscribe to be notified.
So with wonders, obviously only one can be built on the whole map. So certain wonders may require rushing. The AI does tend to prioritize certain wonders more than others. So you may need to rush them on the tech or civic trees. Sometimes it's not worth rushing a wonder, like you may have to give up too much in order to reach the tech or civic needed for it. When you unlock a wonder, there's several ways you can speed up the production. So you can use great engineers. There's a few great engineers that give production toward wonders. You can chop or harvest features like woods and jungle, which will give an immediate boost to production. There's also policy cards, give bonus production for wonders. And then there's also the autocracy government, which gives you 10% boost toward building wonders.
In non-deity games as well, but even in deity games, some crucial wonders that the AI may want to contest. You might want to put Magnus in and get lots of builders out to chop out those wonders.
So we're going to be splitting the wonders into several different sections. The first section is going to be general, just wonders that are always good to build. Next section will be science, for science victories. There's a few wonders there that are especially good for science victories. Culture victory wonders that you'll want to prioritize. Diplomatic victory, domination victory. And then we have a category for situational wonders, which can be good in very unique situations, but not necessarily a particular victory type. And then we have a category for non-deity wonders, wonders that are really hard to get on deity, but are otherwise really good.
So first of the general category, we've got Oracle. And Oracle, it's very hard to get in deity, and the only civ can actually get it is probably China with its builder charges. But if you can get it, and if you're playing non-deity, if you're playing, I don't know, multiplayer with your friends, Oracle's a really big wonder. Why? Great people cost less faith, which is really nice. It means that when you're not projecting or something, you can just have a lot of faith to buy great people instead, which is nice, so that production can go into other things. Then the major thing is that you get 2 great person points for each district type within that city, and this mixed of Pingala, which has the 100% boost to all great person points in that city, is a really, really nice combination and can get you a lot of the crucial great people quickly.
The way I view Oracle is it kind of triples the immediate impact of your districts in that city. So if you have a campus, commercial hub, and theater square early on in a city, but maybe you don't have the buildings yet, Oracle is going to basically triple the great people points that each of those districts produces. So the next really good wonder, and probably my favorite wonder in the game, is Kilwa Kisiwani. It gives you 3 envoys when built, which is great. But the biggest impact of this is the other ability, and that's when you have suzerain of 2 city-states of a particular type, your whole entire empire gets a 15% boost to that particular yield. So if you're suzerain of 2 scientific city-states, then your total empire-wide science is increased 15%. And it's doubled if in that city that you built it in. So 30% boost. If you can get this in a core city with maybe an early university and you get a couple scientific city states, then that can be a 30% boost in that city and then 15% everywhere else to your total science. And even if you can stack this with multiple city states. So if you have 2 science, 2 production, then you get the science 15% boost and 15% boost to production. Culture as well, so it's really good for culture victories. Even if you just have a single city state of a particular type, then that city itself gets the 15% and nothing else. But in a core city, that alone may make it worth building.
The Colosseum is really, really nice as well. It does require a bit of investment. You do have to get an entertainment complex with an arena, then build the Colosseum. But its effects are really, really nice. You get +2 culture and +2 amenities to all cities within 6 tiles of the Colosseum. It really increases your culture yield and gets you through the civic a lot faster, but the amenities is the crucial bit, and this improves yields of all kinds in all your cities.
So our next big general wonder that is almost always good to build is Ruhr Valley, and that will increase a city's production by 20%, and then it will give an extra +1 production on that city's mines and quarries. So if you can, what I like to do is concentrate a lot of production in a central city, send out most or all trade routes from that city, so that you can really multiply the effect of Ruhr Valley, because the bigger base production you have to apply the Ruhr Valley boost on, the better. So it is a pretty big investment. It's 1240 production it costs on standard speed. But if you can build this in a central city with a good base of production, then I think it definitely pays off in the long run. Ruhr Valley really becomes powerful when you reach democracy, the tier 3 government, which gives you 4 food and 4 production for each foreign trade route. And so if you concentrate those trade routes in the Ruhr Valley city, then that 4 production on each trade route becomes basically close to 5 production. And say you have 10 trade routes out of there, that's like 10 production per turn.
2 quite nice wonders to go for extra policy slots, which can really improve your game, are Potala Palace and Forbidden City. Potala gives you an extra diplomatic policy slot, and Forbidden City gives you an extra wildcard slot, and they both provide culture. These slots can be used for quite useful cards. Dux, any at the top of your head, especially for like a diplomatic one?
Yeah, for a diplomatic one, you may want to keep in the +2 envoy card. I forget the name of it. While also running Merchant Confederation, I believe it is, which gives you 1 gold per envoy that you have in city states. By the mid game, usually you may have like 20 envoys total in city states, and that could be 20 gold per turn. But then you don't want to give up the points for that. There's also Whistlebonken, which gives you 2 food and 2 production for trade routes to allies. And it's nice to be able to stack a bunch of these diplomacy cards together. And then there's always good economic cards that Forbidden City would let you run, like Trade Confederation. I think gives you 1 science and 1 culture per foreign trade route. But then there's other ones too that you also want in, like you want the builder card probably for the extra charges, serfdom, and then you also probably want campus adjacency card if you're going for science victory, or the culture adjacency card if you're going for culture victory. And so there's always a shortage in the mid game of slots for cards. And so these 2 wonders are really strong. Mausoleum is our next big wonder that is good to build in most games. So I mainly build it for the additional engineer charges. It'll give all great engineers an additional charge, and that can be really useful. There's wonder engineers that give production toward wonders, and getting an extra charge on them is really nice. There's also engineers that give extra district slots for cities, and so getting this will kind of open up more slots. And there's all kinds of different effects. There's ones that give housing and amenities, and just really good to stack these up. You can also place this strategically, ideally, on a coastal city that with coast that kind of wraps around the city, and you'd get 1 science, 1 faith, and 1 culture on all of those coastal tiles. So that can be really nice for your yields as well. Another good point about this is the AI hardly ever builds this one. So you can usually get this late. You don't have to really prioritize it. And it's usually best, I usually build it pretty late because you don't start getting engineers till later. And what I'll do is I'll say an engineer has 2 charges. I'll just use 1, and then I'll keep that engineer around until Mausoleum is finished. And then that engineer, even though it's already existing, will get an extra charge on it.
Last of the general category, we've got Big Ben. Big Ben is nice because it gives you an extra economic policy slot, as Dux mentioned earlier. Policy slots means that you can add some very nice policies into it. Gold in your treasury is also increased by 50%, so normally it's a good idea to save your gold before building the Big Ben. Then you get a lot more gold out of it. And the +3 great merchant points per turn is also a nice extra bonus, because getting great merchants can allow you to get more trade routes and stuff like that.
Okay, so that kind of summarizes our general wonders that are always good to build. Now we're going to move on to the science category, because there's a couple good wonders that you would probably only want or primarily want for a science victory. The first one is Oxford University, which gives 3 great scientist points per turn, which is nice. Extra 20% science in a particular city. You can put that in a core city, and that'll really amplify your science. And then, most importantly, Oxford awards 2 randomly chosen free technologies when completed. This can be a little hit or miss, but usually it'll give you text from the era that you're currently in, which can be nice. In a fast science victory, you are usually one turning pretty much every tech by the time you get to Oxford, and so if it can give you a couple techs on your path to the laser projects and smart materials, then that will save you 2 turns, potentially, assuming your production can keep up. So really good wonder. It also gives you 2 great works of writing slots, so it could be a bit useful in a culture game, but at that point in a culture game, it's probably a bit irrelevant. Another really interesting wonder for science victories is Amundsen Scott. And Amundsen Scott gives you +5 great scientist points per turn, and then a bonus 20% science and 10% production in all cities. So very strong, but it's unlocked very late. It's unlocked with Cold War, the Cold War Civic. And usually I don't get this Civic until I launch the moon landing, which gives you a culture bomb 10 times your science. So for me, usually it's a bit late, probably, at least for the science, because you can't really go faster than one turning techs, and by that point, I'm usually one turning techs, so the bonus science is kind of wasted. But the production is very interesting, and it may make it worth it just for that, because it takes a lot of production to launch your space projects and lasers and everything, and an extra 10% in all of your cities could be really useful. So if your culture is really high, I think this is a wonder that would be excellent for science victory. But otherwise, if you go a bit lower on the culture and you only get this with the moon landing, it might be a bit late.
After looking at the couple of scientific victory related wonders, now we're here at the culture category. And first up, we've got Apadana. So it gives 2 slots for great works of any kind. The +2 envoys when any wonder's built in the same city is quite nice. And you can potentially put those envoys into culture city states.
Bolshoi is the next big wonder for culture victories. It gives +2 great writer points per turn, +2 great musician points per turn, +1 great work of writing slot, and +1 great work of music slot. But most importantly, it gives you 2 randomly chosen free civics when completed. So this is kind of like the Oxford of culture victories. And those 2 civics can be useful, can move you along the tree and maybe get you to environmentalism, which gives you a big tourism boost a couple turns earlier, 2 or 3, several turns earlier.
Broadway is quite similar to the Bolshoi, but arguably it's better. It doesn't provide 2 free civics, but it does give 20% culture in that city, and it does give a few more points per turn. Next, we've got Hermitage, which is slightly different. It does give a great artist points per turn bonus, +3, which is quite similar to the other ones we just talked about. The main contrast is that it gives +4 great work of art slots, and normally going for art museums is better than going for archaeological museums, because you get the policy card, whereby you get great musician points from how many art museums you have. And then what is the name of that policy card?
The Frescoes card gives you +2 great artist points per turn, and then an additional +2 for every art museum. So our next wonder is St. Basil's Cathedral. And this one is a bit situational because it's really especially good in relic tourism games. So it gives you 3 extra relic slots, doubles your religious tourism from the city, and then it gives you +1 food, +1 production, and +1 culture on all tundra tiles for the city. I think that last ability is probably just a nice bonus if you're playing like Russia or Canada, and you have a tundra city. Otherwise, you're obviously not building this for that purpose. But if you're doing a relic game, this can be really strong. So if you have the reliquary's religious belief, that is going to triple your tourism from relics. It's going to be 24 tourism per relic. If you can get 3 relics to fit into this wonder, that's 72 tourism, and then doubled again with this ability with the double 100% religious tourism from the city. So now we're up to like 144 tourism, and then now with when other civs reach the Enlightenment, that's going to be cut in half. But if you can combine this with Cristo Redentor, then that effect will be negated and you'll be back up to the full religious tourism. So this can be a really strong wonder in a specialized culture victory.
Estadio is like the Colosseum, but no effort because you don't have to strategically place it within as many cities as possible, because once built, it provides 6 culture and 2 amenities to all cities in your civilization. The only thing is that it comes a bit late, so maybe it might not have as much of an impact.
Our next big culture wonder is Sydney Opera House. It gives +8 culture, +5 great musician points, and +3 great works of music slots. So this is pretty strong, but it comes very late, and that's the big downside to this. But works of music do give you a lot of tourism, and having some extra slots for those could be useful.
Now for the diplomatic category, it's pretty simple, and I think actually when you go onto the Civ game and you go onto the diplomatic victory condition, it kind of lists out all the wonders there for you. So it's Mahabodhi Temple, Patala Palace, and Statue of Liberty, and they all provide diplomatic victory points, and you need 20. So these 3 are really important to your game if you're going for a diplomatic victory, of course.
Okay, and now on to our domination victory category. There's a couple really good wonders that are good. So first is Terracotta Army, which is going to give all of your units a free promotion. And this can be really useful. It also gives 2 great general points. And this is really good to time strategically. You don't want to wait too long to build this, but you want to have a lot of military units to get those promotions. You can also do an interesting thing with spies. So the listening post mission with spies will give you an extra level of diplomatic visibility, and you'll get an extra 3 combat strength for each level of diplomatic visibility that you have over others. So this wonder will actually give your spies a promotion as well, not just your military units. So this could help you get to that second level. Your spies will give you 2 levels of diplomatic visibility boost if they are super agents, which I believe is the second promotion level. And so Terracotta Army can be nice for that as well. As a bonus, it can get your spies to that next level a bit faster. And then there is also Statue of Zeus, which gives you 3 archers and 3 spearmen, and these can be nice pre-built units that you can upgrade to more advanced units. And it's actually a discount. It's a bit cheaper to build this wonder than it is to build each of those units individually. So Alhambra is another good domination wonder to build. Gives you 2 amenities, which is great. It can boost your yields a bit. 2 great general points, and an extra military policy slot. So in a normal peaceful game, that military slot probably won't be very useful, but in a war-based game, you could definitely use more military slots. You'll be putting in the discount cards for promoting units. You'll want the unit maintenance cards, and you'll want the raid policy for to enhance your pillaging. Yeah, and then probably some other cards as well. So it's always good to have more policy cards.
That's a very good way of putting it.
And now on to our situational categories. So these wonders are really only good in certain situations. Some of them are always really good, but you may have to be in a special situation in order to be able to build them. So our first one is Temple of Artemis, and that's a great wonder. It gives you an extra amenity for each plantation, pasture, or camp, but it has to be built next to a camp. And not every start has a camp, but definitely nice. It also gives you food and housing, so it can really boost an early city. Venetian Arsenal gives you an extra ship every time you build one, so basically doubles how many ships you can build, and you can combine this with the some of the policy cards, the naval policy cards for building ships, and really just spit out ships as quickly as you possibly can. Petra is really good for desert cities. So if you have a lot of desert hills in a particular city, you can turn that city into a wonderful city. It gives you extra food production and gold. Huaytocali will boost all of the lake tiles in your empire. Chichen Itza will give your rainforest tiles 2 culture and an extra production. So it can be really nice for Brazil or another civ with a lot of rainforest. Now, probably especially nice in a flat rainforest city, because you probably do want to chop rainforests on hills and get mines down early, but maybe in a flat rainforest city, it could be really good. So Casa will give all of your cities on your non-home continent with a governor an extra 15% production, faith, and gold. So you can maybe get a core city on a foreign continent, and that could be your spaceport city, and this could really boost that. And that kind of synergizes with the foreign taxes, colonial taxes card, which gives an extra 10% production and 25% gold and 10% faith in cities on a foreign continent with a governor. Tour de Belém is really good for trade-based civs, trade-based games, probably naval games. It really boosts your trade routes. Gives your international trade routes from a particular city plus 2 gold for every luxury at the destination. And then when constructed, cities not on your home continent will receive the lowest production cost building that they can currently construct. Also gives you an admiral point and 5 gold. Great Zimbabwe is another underrated, underbuilt wonder. It also has a very specific build location similar to Temple of Artemis, except probably even more specific. It needs to be next to a commercial hub with a bank and next to a cattle tile. But it can be really strong. Also boosts trade routes. Eiffel Tower is really good for national park games, preserve games, because it boosts your empire's appeal by +2 on every tile in your empire. So that can get ordinary tiles up into the breathtaking category. Could really boost your yields if you're building preserves, or could boost your tourism with a lot of national parks. Cristo Redentor will negate the effects of the Enlightenment on religious tourism. So normally when civs reach the Enlightenment, your religious tourism will be half as effective against them, but Cristo will negate that. Biosphere is also an interesting wonder. So it gives you plus 200% power for all offshore wind farms, solar farms, wind farms, geothermal plants, and hydroelectric dams. And then also it will cause these buildings and improvements to provide tourism equal to their power, which can be pretty strong late in the game. If you have a bunch of these improvements, you can do some interesting strategies around this to win a culture victory. You can also use this in a science victory if you are lacking power. This will pretty much guarantee that the terrestrial laser projects will not suck all of the power out of your empire. You'll be on the move to the exoplanet at full speed. And it gives an extra appeal to tiles adjacent to rainforest and marsh. Another situational wonder is Great Library. Gives you +2 science, +1 scientist point per turn, +2 great works of writing slots. So this could be good for either a science victory or a culture victory. It's probably best for a culture victory in most cases, but it's very hard to get. The AI will rush this pretty fast, and you basically have to line up your builders, get Magnus in a city, and probably chop it out. And that's why it's kind of situational. Usually probably not worth the investment, but you'll also receive a boost to all ancient and classical era technologies. And then in addition to all of this, you'll also receive a random tech boost after another player recruits a great scientist. So for Babylon, this wonder is incredible. Every time an opponent recruits a scientist, you'll get a free tech. So if they recruit 10 scientists after you build this, which they probably will, that's 10 free techs. So pretty situational, but can be really strong.
Or non-deity, the last category. Deity means that the AI normally takes these early wonders very quickly. But in general, most of the early game wonders are pretty good, and you can definitely utilize them in your game. But the ones that we decided to pick out were Pyramids and Entemenanki. Pyramids gives 1 extra builder charge and it's very useful in general. Entemenanki is really, really nice if you have floodplains in a city and you want to make that city have more production. It can gain a lot of science, and if you have marshes in your empire, and can be a massive boost to your entire game. So that's it for non-deity.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. Hope this was helpful. And next time we're going to be talking about pantheons. So look forward to discussing that.